I can still remember what it was like the first time I stepped into a race car. The sound of the engine, the anticipation, but I never could have imagined where this journey would take me. My father once told me that racing is just like life. You have to stay on your toes, because you never know what's around the next corner. My name is Bill Watson, and this is my story.
One of the most dramatic finishes Autobahn has ever seen unfolded before our eyes up in Canada. What occurred was a storybook finish worthy of racing lore. But 2 weeks have passed and everyone has had a chance to calm down. The chaos of motorsport is behind us, and another classic North American venue faces our competitors. Road America has been nicknamed the National Park of Speed, and with these sports cars, it certainly will live up to that name. Who's got the guts to keep their foot in it today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. And hi, once again, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth, covering the prototypes and GTLM classes, is Bill Suit Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Dawson Brock. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Dawson, we return to Wisconsin, and I suspect the drivers have been eager for this round.
I'm sure they are, Joe. This circuit is a popular one among drivers and fans alike. Road America, a 4-mile, 14-turn circuit, routinely provides exciting racing. This is mostly because of Road America's multiple passing zones. Turns 1 and 5 are going to be places to watch due to their long straightaways, along with the famous Canada Corner. If I had to choose, I would be sitting in Canada Corner. Overall, this track is fast-flowing, so drivers will need to push their vehicles to the limits, but don't take my word for it. Have a look for yourselves as we invite you to take a ride around Road America in the GSRC 4GT.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC 4GT, so let's do a lap around Road America. The front stretch is by far the longest and fastest straight on the circuit, so turn 1 is easily going to be a good passing zone. Expect a few draft battles to erupt here, and of course to be finished in this first corner. But this is a pretty rapid turn. It's only down 2 gears and then you're back on the power trying to avoid understeering into the dirt. You've got a short blast down to 3, which is definitely one of the more important corners you'll navigate. Don't worry about your entry here so much as your exit. There's a lot of time to be lost if you get back to the gas late. That's because you're now on the moraine sweep. It's not exactly straight, so keep that in mind when you're battling with someone so that you don't drift into one another. But the real reason you see a lot of passes here is the heavy braking into turn 5. However, remember that this is a pretty decent drop down hill and it'll be embarrassingly easy to outbrake yourself. Then you climb back into turn 6. The difficulty here is that the crest makes the window for braking very narrow. Wait too long, the car will just slide its way into the gravel. After that comes turn 7. As fast as this corner is, you'll need a lift to make it through. Now you're into the hurry downs. Surprisingly, despite the short run, you'll see passes into here from time to time. It's pretty sharp, so there's lots of braking, and that creates opportunities. This brings us into the famous carousel. Try to be patient as you swing the car through here. A later apex will do you much better than getting greedy on the power and having to make a sudden lift. Then, once you finally exit the corner, you'll see the notorious kink. As much downforce as this GTE car has, you still can't take this flat out. Precision is critical because as you fly through the kettle bottoms, a lack of speed will make you susceptible to an attack into Canada Corner. Try to straighten out this braking zone and then get the car turned in. You don't have much time after that before you're taken into turn 13. This blind crest is tricky in just about any car and is another thread-the-needle situation in the Ford. Finally, there's the last corner. This is another one I'd advise to not ruin your exit on. Now that we're coming back to the front stretch, carrying your momentum is of the utmost importance. You don't want to find yourself a sitting duck on your way to turn 1. Climb up the hill, hold it to the left, and hopefully you've now finished a lap around Road America.
You see a lap around Road America. It's relatively a long lap with 4 miles to cover over this thing, and there's a little bit of championship to cover too because we've racked up a number of rounds. Bill, situation gets clearer and clearer.
5 in the books. We work round number 6, not taking into account drop reeks yet. Let's go ahead and look at the prototype standings. Jason Girard has a pair of wins, as does John Ulmer. Girard sits up there in first. Ulmer up many spots now, up into 7th. Billy Smith also has a win. Scott McGarvey with 10th last time out, hence his fall from the top spot. And Carter Kundinger had his season best 3rd. Let's go ahead and look at the GTLMs now. And Toya Soy said, if you look for perfection, you'll never be content. Well, when interviewed, Alex Simonik seems pretty happy. The only time that he hasn't won is when he hasn't tried. Steve McGarvey is the only other winner in the class, getting that round win the last time out when Magic Alex was missing. Mike Young and William Lastard each dropped a spot thanks to 11th and 12th place finishes respectively. And after a slow start, Deep Freeze is heating up. Jason DeVries now tied for 4th. Let's go to the GTDs. Never Say Die, Dawson Brock is undefeated in races he's entered. That will remain true because Mr. Brock is going to be up in the booth instead of on the track today, so glad to have him with us. Kevin Santana and Armando Edwards have the wins when Dawson was not out there racing. Santana assumes the lead with Tim McLeish in 2nd. Mike Majors, 15th last time out, keeps him from the top spot, and Shane Hunter holds station in 4th. Looking at the team standings, a little bit of switching going on between 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th. TMC Crimson jumps up there with Wilson Owens, and I told you about DeVries. That's the main reason those guys are getting in the hunt as they start to climb the ladder. SRN Orange continues to lead the way up there with Stephen McGarvey, McLeish, Young, and Mole doing the heavy lifting for them. All right, there's your points. A lot of ways to go. Drop races will start to come into play, and things will shake up as we go along. Joe?
We expect that, as it's always been the case each season, but, well, not everybody has been following every season, and in that case, we've got Dawson to tell us about the race details so that we can get the audience up to speed of what this series includes.
All right, so this series, it's pretty basic. It's nothing too spectacular. We have 3 classes: Proto, HPD. We got GTLM. You'll see the Porsche, Ford, Ferrari, BMW, and then we have the class that I like to run in, the GTDs, the Mercedes and Audi. Now these classes are split up so that to try and keep talent even in each. So the prototypes will contain mainly the guys with the higher I ratings, and the GTLM in the middle, and the GTDs for more of the newer guys to the road circuits. So you'll see great competition among all of these. You won't typically see one guy just dominating. Setups are open, so drivers are able to come here, make these changes, and try to get their cars as fast as possible and also as comfortable as possible. That's a big one. Now, today we're going to be racing for 90 minutes. Normally, we'll see some 60-minute races, but since we're at a nicer track, I don't know why they pick it, but 90 minutes will be the race today, and that incident cap, 36. Now, a place like here, plenty of runoff attempts. Guys will have to watch and make sure that they keep their incidents to a minimum and don't hit that 36 number.
Thanks for that, Dawson. As they're currently working on their qualifying for the prototypes. This is for the overall poll that we're watching. And it looks to be pretty ideal conditions out there. It's 78 degrees currently with 89 degrees track surface temperature only just a slight wind from the south at about 5 miles an hour. So this Wisconsin Midwest weather behaving at least this time today. Right now, John Ulmer is on the pole, and Jason Girard is next to him. And Bill, I alluded to it, but our audience that hadn't watched last round, they really missed out in that fight between Ulmer and Girard. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen on this channel.
Yeah, only one way to describe it, Pearson and Petty. I really expected one car to get stuck in the mud and have a hard time going. It was exactly that. They got together, they banged, and then it was a drag race to the finish. Very exciting indeed. You'll want to check that out. I'm not going to tell you who won it in case you haven't seen it yet because it's that exciting. But indeed, very, very nice. Joe, let's talk pit stops here. I imagine with this being a 90-minute race as Girard goes to the pole, we're looking at a 2-stop, I think, from everybody. But
correct,
maybe the prototypes might have to take 3. We'll see.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. This is a really thirsty track. As that was Leif Peterson, unfortunately, finding himself in the wall at Canada Corner. So he'll have to come back out. He's got enough time, I think, to get a lap or 2 in. So yeah, this I think you're right. The stop-start track like this with a lot of high speeds is probably going to suck up quite a bit of fuel over the course of these 90 minutes. Going down to the GTDs, though, Dawson, last week, once again, we saw our provisional pole sitter for the GTDs, Paul Slavonic, just not seem to be able to capitalize. You have experience in the cars and you know how to get wins in. I mean, what do you think he's doing? Or is this just, the racing gods just being how they are? Is he doing nothing wrong up to this point?
I mean, Slavonic, he's a great driver. I mean, we've seen multiple series on this channel. We know what he's like, and it is not like him to have these mess-ups. So I would not say that he's out there pushing the wrong button or something. I think sometimes it's a mental thing. You go into a race and you make one mistake and then you try and make up for that mistake and then you make another mistake. I think just if he can reset and clear it out and just say, hey, look, I'm going to go out here and not necessarily go out and say, I need to win. Just let's relax and have a good race and bring it back a couple notches and just try to survive. This is a longer race than what we're usual. We normally have an hour, now it's an hour and a half. So the less mistakes you're going to make, they're going to be even more important to where you finish in that order.
I like Mike Majors down there. Mike Majors, singular. Really, really consistent if you take away last round that he had some problems with. And I think the 90-minute race is just going to help him as drivers will run into trouble those final 30 minutes extra.
Up at the top of the screen, we saw Jason Girard take the fastest lap and set it even faster. It is now 2/10 that he has over John Ulmer. Ulmer just started another lap, watching Leif Peterson on the screen completing his now. Ulmer's got enough time, I think, to get 2 more laps in if he keeps the car on track. So that'll be something to keep an eye out for. Billy Smith as well, about a half second behind Girard. Maybe he could get into the mix. We'll have to watch and see. We haven't talked about the GTLMs quite yet, and that is actually kind of fascinating, Bill, because you talked about how Simonic has taken a lot of wins, and he's back again today, but he's qualified in 6th currently. So I'm not sure if he just doesn't like this track. Maybe he couldn't get a clean lap in, or what's going on there.
Yeah, I gotta figure he just couldn't get one in, and probably the 90-minute race will play into his favor. That's an extra 30 minutes for him to get the job done. The guy to watch out for is the pole sitter. I've been watching him all season. It's William Laster. Little by little, he's a rookie. He's been getting better and better, making stronger performances, and now he'll be on the pole next to Mike Young. That's going to be really fun to watch, as those guys not only are fast on the qualifying, but they both also sit in the top 5 in points.
On screen, we're watching Ulmer come through Canada Corner, now into the kettle bottoms. Through the kink and into the kettle bottoms. Now he's up to Canada Corner. And again, he's got to get 2/10 to catch Jason Girard here in the qualifying. Now, last round, Girard's mistakes and traffic is potentially what lost him that win, along with the incident that happened at the end. But John Ulmer, as he comes up the hill, has suddenly found himself back to the fore. He's sort of a win it or bin it driver this season. Just not any faster this time.
Yeah, up 7 spots in the points. Missing today is our second in the points. Stephen, unless he makes a raid alive, Stephen McGarvey not going to show up, but that's all right. We have good news as Rutgers Kev is back with us in the 629 machine. Kevin O'Keefe.
Yeah, I understand he had technical issues with his wheel, had to get it replaced, and now that it's back, he is on track once again. I can report that Billy Smith has lost third. He's on the outside of the second row now. Carter Kundinger has pushed himself up there. Number 22, having a pretty decent season, I have to say.
Oh, yeah, up 5 spots last round into the top 5 now. Got to be happy with that, especially with the big names up here. The absence of Cy Onder opens up an opportunity for some of these guys to get up there where they haven't been able to race before. Man, I love the tree line here at Road America. You really get an impression of the speed when you got the foliage going by on both sides.
Well, and the track is going to darken a little bit. Those trees are going to cause shadows to get further and further across the track because it's already 5:45 p.m. virtual standard time here in Wisconsin and iRacing. So with the checkered flag coming out, and we watch Carter Kundinger try to push himself a little bit higher than the second row. Let's see what he does as he crosses the line. It is faster, a 150.9. That is 0.2 better, but not enough to get onto the front row.
Mama Jean, if you're watching it, it's not martini time. You have to go by West. You've already had your martinis, 5 o'clock. You're done for the day. Just want to straighten that out for her.
Billy Smith just took third away from Kundinger, but we're watching Jason Girard, and this is the one we want to see if he goes any faster. He does not. A 50.4. He will stay on the pole naturally, but does not extend that gap. Leif Peterson coming up next out of the final corner, and he's going to abandon that one. So let's see what Rutgers Kev has got underneath him after a period of absence in this series.
Only needs a couple of
7th out of 10.
A couple of tenths will pick him up, maybe past Mark Wilson or Robert Cancion. Let's see what he can do out of the final corner.
Not sure he's going to have a good lap here because the current lap timing does not look correct. Oh, it will register, and it is faster, 51.5, gets him one position up.
Got to trust your heart, not technology, Joe.
And that's actually our last driver because remember, Kundinger's already taken his last lap. Checkered flag was already out, so our qualifying is now set. Let's go through your starting order for today. Jason Girard on the pole with John Ulmer starting next to him. Those two certainly are creating something of a rivalry this season, with Billy Smith starting in third, Kundinger on the outside of him in fourth. Robert Cancion will be P5, with Kevin O'Keefe coming back with a 6th place. Mark Wilson starts 7th. Outside of him, it'll be Dean Mole. Leif Peterson, P9, and Dale Green starts within the top 10, as there are only 10 cars that look like they're going to be taking the green flag in the prototypes. Bill?
Much larger field of 17 than the GTLMs. The fastest one of all, we talked about it, William Lasser. He's going to be inside of Mike Young. The next row, Jason Deep Freeze DeVries inside Stephen McGarvey. Row 3 is Daniel Gralty, flanked by Alex Simonek. What is Magic Alex doing so far back in 6th position? Ryan Huff and Joshua Hallen-Wolf is in the next row. Olivier Tricot and Paul Lindsay fill up the next row. Sheldon Rosenbaum is inside of Matt Quinn. Dave Hill is flanked by Joey Trungill, Ross Booth, and Mark Schindel. The last car out there, Chris Dawson. Dawson?
We have Paul Sylvanek sitting on pole today. We're a little bit out here. Tyler Gamet going to start inside of him. Shane Hunter going to start third, and then we keep going, and we will see. Just a little bit behind here on my screen. Hold on. Go ahead. Yeah, there we go. Stuff's freezing up on me here. Okay, Mark Kukrowski, Lionel Duprat, Marty Jeffries, Kevin Santana, Gerard Gilbert, Sean Reese, Matt Owens, and Jay Friel's going to finish out with the 20th row. Then if we keep going, we will see. Boy, this stuff is behind.
Alan Haysbeck, Christopher Sherburne, Sheldon Woloshin, and Art Peck rounds out the last of them as they now currently grid up. behind the pace car. Get a full pace lap around here, which means you guys have time to deliberate on the usual picks before the race. We'll start with Bill.
Wisconsin is in America. John Ulmer likes American tracks. The process of the transitivity, I believe I learned the mathematical theory of transitivity with John Ulmer, will win today. Let's go down to the GTLMs. Well, I hyped him up in the pre-race. He's sitting on the pole. Got to go with the guy. He's a rookie. William Laster, wire to wire, baby. Dawson, who you like down there?
You know what? I wanted Paul Silvani. He's got pace here, but I'm going to go with Mike Major. I think he's going to squeak one out this week, starting in 4th. I think he might have a good race.
That's the guy. That's where my money would be, too. I like Major.
Good driver.
All right. Still waiting on that pace car to take off, as I think Sheldon Woloshin and Jay Friels are the only 2 drivers we're waiting to get on the grid. Once they are there, or if the time ticks down and finishes out, then we will go. Looks like they're not going to be able to grid up today. So Porsche pace car starts to lead them around. This is going to be telling. And Bill, we've seen in the past that the North American tracks are sort of a strength for John Ulmer. After this, we leave the North American tracks. We know he's not a fan of the next one, which is Interlagos. Do you think really this is the time he needs to try and get another win and prove himself? Or do you think he's maybe improved at the other tracks?
I think there used to be the joke about the cheese coming off the pizza with him. He's the big cheese. I think he's left that kind of thing behind. And I think also this mythology about him only being good in North America. Actually, it was America. It's now expanded to North America. Let's just take that off. Let's take the direction off. Let's just include Americas. That way we can get the one down in Brazil in there as well. So
he's verbally just always against Interlagos. He hates that track. So I don't know if he'll be strong there.
You know, the new build is coming out tomorrow, right? Am I right on this? I am hoping. Of all the things I would like is for iRacing to adjust the pace lap at Road America, if that's all possible.
Yeah, I would appreciate that too.
The beautiful scenery, though. Come on.
The only chance for the
Virtual
drivers to get to
trees.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Of all the tracks to put a complete pace lap on, it's Road America. I guess Nuremberg, the ring, would be worse, but
Dawson, this is a track that we usually don't talk about traffic being an issue as much. However, there are a few places where the racing line goes across it. Are there any trouble zones that you expect drivers maybe to get tangled up with one another?
Definitely the carousel. I don't know what you guys we call it the carousel. I think is that. Or are we on the same verbiage? Okay, yeah, the carousel definitely is going to be the one where they kind of go, they start wide, they come in, and then they exit wide. Right there, you got to know if a faster car is coming and is going to try and make that outside pass. I'd only expect the P2 cars to make that outside pass, because there's probably you're not going to see GTE cars be able to make that stick inside a GT3 car. So that is by far the worst spot. Otherwise, you have these straightaways that you can just wait for around Road America, so the traffic should be pretty free and easy. A lot better than what we saw 2 weeks ago in Canada.
you saw Dawson talk. Speaking of Canada, you talked about Canada Corner down there in 12. That's going to be an action corner. I personally like corner number 5. That one, not only is it there's passing there, but it seems like that's also the action corner where things don't always go right.
Certainly. Go ahead.
Downhill braking, it's really tough, and you got that sand trap out there on the outside. It's where driver, you get a fake confidence going into that corner for some reason. People think they can always brake a little bit later than what they actually do.
Yeah, certainly seems to catch a few people out, and it's given us a lot of fun over the years here on GSRC. This is the infamous Canada Corner that we were discussing, that kinked braking zone down into what should be a simple 90-degree right-hander, but for some reason just troubles a lot of drivers. We're getting ready to go green here in just a few moments, and we'll have 90 minutes of racing here at Road America. Gerard will have control of the field. Ulmer is going to try and do what he can to see if he can get in front again. It'll be a while before they catch traffic compared to last week. Again, 4 miles around this place, so they should be able to spread out. Porsche pace car out of the final bend and into the pit lane. Jason Gerard is waiting for it, stacking the field up. Now he accelerates away. Green flag is out, and it's a horrible start for John Ulmer into second place. Billy Smith immediately by him. In fact, he might fall all the way to fourth place because here comes Carter Kundinger. He's to the inside of the big cheese. He's got a car ahead of him, though. He could get covered off. He swings a little bit wide, over under for John Ulmer, but otherwise it is clean. Let's go back to the GTLMs.
Laster held him up but got a great start, has a long jump. Mike Young trying to fend off DeVries. DeVries go too wide through corner number 1. Looks like Young is going to hold on to that spot. McGarvey and Simonic behind them. Dawson.
Pretty basic start so far, everybody just kind of slotting in, but Shane Hunter going to take a look to the inside of Tyler Gilmet into turn 1, but no dice. It looks like a pretty clean start here for the GT3 field.
Oh, and Tim McLeish gets tips a little bit to the side. That was Mark Kudrowski. He gets run into big time by Gerard Gilbert. More cars getting into it. Christopher Sherburne and Tim McLeish. We'll come back to that replay in a bit.
Oh, that was ugly.
Well, thankfully, we didn't see too much of that ugliness up in the prototypes. The only real issue that they had is Kundinger, just as we went to the GTLMs, nearly spun it. Coming out of turn 3, he's already getting past Dale Green and got himself back up to 8th. At the lead, we saw it was Gerard up ahead of Billy Smith, who got by Ulmer that we saw earlier on, already down through Canada corner, and then up to Bill Mitchell-Bend once more. So finishing the first lap, your order for the prototypes, Gerard, Smith, and Ulmer. The GTLMs see Laster, Young, and DeVries up at the top. And then Slavonic, Gilmet, and Hunter in the GTDs. As we look at the GTLMs now, who have all pretty well spread out. This is looking like something of a calm start for these guys, Bill.
Yeah, Young, DeVries, McGarvey, Simonic back there, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They're all trying to catch William, but Laster is faster as he's up in front, running away with it right now. Young about 3 or 4 car lengths back. Looking at him coming at you.
And they're pulling at something of a gap to 3rd place, Jason DeVries. The number 1 car trailing behind by about 3/4 of a second, which is certainly not doomsday talk. He could yet still catch up to them, and especially once the traffic starts to get intermingled, that could really shake things up. They come out of turn 3 down through the Moraine sweep.
DeVries got a really bad start. He was right on the back of Laster, and Laster was really holding up the field. That allowed Mike Young on the inside to get a good run. Actually, almost took a shot at the front, but Laster was able to pull away. Plenty of time, though, for DeVries to run him down.
Look at how close the train is from 3rd on back, though. That's McGarvey, Simonic, and Gralty all behind Deep Freeze DeVries.
That's the one you got to watch out for. Car 250 is Alex Simonic. He's been perfect so far this season. He's got his work to do today. Luckily, 90 minutes. He's got plenty of time. He doesn't have to hurry.
He's already up 1 spot from the start. Remember, he started in 6th place. He's now to the top 5, and he's been sizing up Stephen McGarvey. That was the driver who won last round, who himself was a very cool customer, chasing the very car he's behind right now, Jason DeVries. Spent the first half of the race just sitting there and watching until he eventually there. So let's take. And Bill, it almost looks like Smith is being a little bit of a plug for John Ulmer.
Yeah, he got around him, and Ulmer is back there now. These guys have raced countless miles against each other. Smith knows that Ulmer can tend to be a bit impatient sometimes, so I think if Ulmer makes his presence known, it would not surprise me if Billy doesn't let him go by, but doesn't fight all that hard.
Stays with him coming up and around turn 6. No opportunities quite yet. He can't wait too long or else Gerard will start to pull away, and he does not want to let Jason allow himself too much of a gap. Looks like nothing's going to happen here, so why don't we give a little bit of love back to the GTDs. which seems to have a relatively close fight up at the front there, Dawson.
Yeah, the two Audis have kind of driven away so far. I'm not sure. Maybe these cars are going to favor this track a little bit more than usual. Paul Slavonic and Tyler Guillemette, they're so far just kind of taken off and not really looking back. Shane Hunter, a pretty big gap back to him. But yeah, they're doing a great job. Maybe this is the race. Paul Slavonic can get that 0 out of the win column.
In the GTLMs, we don't mean to jump you around too much. We don't have to go there if you don't want to, but Alex Simonic has worked his way now up into 4th in class. Got around DeVries and is now on the hunt. Next up on his ARIA Stark hit list will be Stephen McGarvey.
Well, and it's not just Simonic, but Stephen McGarvey got past him. So it must have been a mistake somewhere. I'm going back to check to see what happened to Jason DeVries. Looks like maybe he got pushed a little wide at turn 5, and both of them snuck through.
Man, he is actually under attack right now from Daniel Brolte. Boy, the names in this Laster is young, Laster is new, and of course we know Mike Young, but DeVries, McGarvey, Simonic, Brolte. These are big drivers.
Absolutely, and don't forget Josh Wolf is back there. Poor Josh, though. He needs a good race this season. Just can't seem to catch any sort of luck.
He's off by a week this race at Watkins. It's supposed to be the one, but just didn't have the luck that he needed.
And we had a pass for second place in the prototypes. It was a simple pass down into turn 5, yeah.
Interesting enough, Smith took the defensive line. I said he would give it up, but honestly, he did.
Let's take a look at this pass.
Yeah. This is interesting because he's on the inside. Usually, when you're going to let somebody by, you give him the apex.
Yeah, he looks like he's defensive. You're right, and then they get to the braking zone, and maybe he just didn't have his marker picked out right, offline, and it was pretty much a breeze for the Big Cheese. So he's got 1.7 seconds to make up on Gerard. That's a fair gap, not impossible. And they will be catching traffic relatively soon because they got Christopher Sherburne and actually a car coming out of the pits. What happened to Santana here? Dawson, have you caught exactly why Santana was in the pits so early?
No, I just saw him fall down my order real quick. I'm going to have to take a back look and try and get you guys updated on that.
And already you could see they are catching Kevin Santana now that he's out.
Looks like his car was fine. He maybe just underfueled it, didn't change it from qualifying.
Could be the case. So hopefully it's not going to compromise his race. Maybe he could be able to get to the end still, since these GTD cars can be a little bit more free on pit strategy. We'll find out soon enough. It's awful early in the race.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be able to take away one of his stops. And, you know, we talked about Slavonic having bad luck this season and still being a good driver. Kevin Santana is a great driver. He's had pace all year. It's just like the wrong times. It's just had bad little hiccups. And a lot of times not his fault.
Simonic just got around Stephen McGarvey right behind the battle we're looking at. That's Laster and Young. Young has been closing in. Look for him to make a battle into 5th. But let's go back a little bit farther. Simonic is really being hassled. One car back by McGarvey. This one is tighter. I don't think we're going to see anything up front. Look at the cars 3 and 4. On the inside, that is Simonic. On the outside is McGarvey. Now, we just saw the same thing happen last time. Billy Smith broke and let it happen. I don't think we're going to see this time.
Side by side into the braking zone. Given just enough space by Alex. So McGarvey has to give up the ghost. Alex into P3. Looking to continue his 100% record and chase down Young and Laster.
1.5 seconds and a touch more to get to Young. And I'll tell you, Young knows it too, because he's all on the back. They sit next to the track.
And Simonic for the moment. We'll see if he starts to gain on him now that he has gotten past Stephen McGarvey and has a free bit of track in front of him. Wonder how long they have until the prototypes catch them. Looks like they got quite a while, so doesn't have to worry about that too much. As they come through Canada corner. Go ahead, Bill.
I'll tell you what else. I know we're watching this, but we don't need to go there. But Ulmer is now about 3 car lengths behind Girard, and they've run into traffic. Can't believe, Dawson, how quick they got into traffic because they're behind Art Beck right now. Man, 4 miles. I didn't think it would happen this fast.
No, and these guys had a slow start to the race. Art, especially, it looks like he's just a little bit off the pace. We got Hasbeck is a little farther up than these guys, so hopefully it's a little bit more spaced out.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, Allen's got a couple cars in front of him, so they're going to have to take them one after another. Owens is there, and Sean Reese as well.
Man, we got battles in all the leaders here. So we look at Owens and Reese. Sylvanic's just ahead a little of Gilmet. Laster ahead of Young. These passes are going to happen at any second.
As they come onto the front stretch, you'll see in the background, there's our prototype leaders. Jason Girard starting to gain. And John Ulmer, who may be thinking, yes, this is exactly what I need. This worked last time. Traffic allowed me to take the lead away with a brave move. They hit turn 1 just as they start to catch Hasebeck.
Oh my, here he comes. Oh, he's going to wait. That's Owens now. Girard, Ulmer just a half car length behind. They're coming up. That is Sean Reese. They get around Reese. Ulmer has the momentum. He's going to force it. Yeah, on the outside again, the defensive line. They go too wide, Joe.
Ooh, and he nearly gets pushed off. Girard's not going to let him have this one easily. They hit turn 6, and eventually John Ulmer has to give up the ghost. So as we watch from the leading prototype, looking back at John Ulmer, our winner from last round, Marty Jeffries, is going to be next. They're going to swing around the outside, and Dawson talked about this coming towards the exit. They just get by in time. So as they now have a little bit more clear track, it didn't work quite yet for John Ulmer, but he got awful close. These two are starting to look like two of our main contenders for race wins based on last week and this week.
Yeah, Smith stuck by Ulmer, and Ulmer didn't like that. He was clearly had the pace. He's got that back now. He's going to run down as they continue to work on through lap traffic. That's Lionel Duprat, a veteran. He knows how to get out of the way, keeping a straight line. That's Mark Kudrowski as well. Look at Ulmer tucking behind Kudrowski, getting a tow from the car that's a lap down. Now he's got momentum to the inside.
No defense this time from Jason Girard as he may be looking for the over-under. If he did, it's not working because solidly through, John Ulmer is now your leader. They get more traffic coming onto the Moraine sweep. Ulmer takes a little bit of a draft from Mike Major. He's followed through by Girard, who is right on board with now, looking over his shoulder. Okay, the move back. Nope, he is too far back. Shane Hunter ahead of them with a short burst up and over the hill towards 6, but I'm not sure that Girard's going to be able to sneak through just in time.
We'll see if they got to make that pass in the carousel. Probably.
This is getting tense between these two. They could go against Ulmer as well as it worked for him in the past, but not this time coming through the carousel. They're going to get a clean track through the kink, and Girard's going to have to wait till later.
Boy, it's early on, so even if you miss a turn right there and have to sit behind a GTD car, it's not too big then. Now you wait later in the race, these guys are going to be making dive bombs and going around these guys. It is going. We've seen it in the past. In Canada, for example, I mean, these guys just go all out for that one extra turn.
Go back to this battle. William Laster, he's able to hold off Young. The real intensive battle continues to be right behind them of Simonic and McGarvey. Look for McGarvey to make a move here. This is a battle for third. And he's holding up the defensive line right down the middle from Simonic. McGarvey has been pestering him, and these guys are losing touch with the guys up in front. Two great battles, Laster and Young. One that is really Simonic and McGarvey.
Out of turn 7, Stephen McGarvey doing all he can. Try and see if he can retake that podium spot from Alex Simonic. Simonic has not been gaining on Young, though, we should point out. We thought that he would try to chase down first and second place, but it has gotten a little bit wider, not by a huge amount, but about 2 seconds, 0.3 of a second increase between himself and second place.
But a lot of that has to do with the pestering from little sister Stephen McGarvey back there saying, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. He has been all over the back of Simonic. Simonic's had to take defensive lines in that 5 almost every lap.
Out of Bill Mitchell Bend. This has been a tense fight between these two, much like it was last week. But Stephen McGarvey, who last week seemed to have the legs on Simonic, doesn't seem to have the same pace advantage here at Road America. So the two BMWs stream their way down the front stretch, separated by about 0.3 of a second. Are they going to stay that way the whole time? They're coming up to the pit window pretty soon here, and I wonder if one of them will maybe try to out-strategize the other.
3-class race, and there are battles everywhere. There's too much to cover. We don't need to go there. I'll tell you, there's another battle right behind them between DeVries and Gralty, Daniel Gralty on a mix too. So the GTLMs are full of excitement. In fact, you can see them right there all in one shot. Pair of two, and pair of two. I guess it's always a pair of two, isn't it?
We knew what you meant. So, as we've got Simonic and McGarvey fighting, you mentioned DeVries and Gralty, and actually Gralty stuck his nose in coming up to turn 6 and got chopped off at the apex. So that certainly was not fun times for Daniel as we ride on board with the number 47. Coming up to the carousel. Don't feel the G-forces in these cars, but you certainly are struggling to keep grip as you come around this long, never-ending bend. Gralty falling off a little bit now. Through the kettle bottoms one more time. Go ahead, Bill.
Out of the windscreen, you can see the two up in front, Simonic and McGarvey.
It's got to be frustrating for DeVries, who has been watching them start to stretch away.
Yep.
Especially DeVries having been so fast in the past, but doesn't seem to have it. He's been sitting in 5th place and has been losing touch with the lead bit by bit.
And I think Mike Young in second realizes this right now as he's just kind of laying off of Laster. Those two guys are just hitting their lines and putting in some good lap times. And that way they can make it a 2-car battle instead of what could be a 6-car battle with Simonic and McGarvey getting up there and DeVries and Gralty coming too.
Going up to the third place driver here in the GTLMs, Alex Simonic. Stephen McGarvey got a good run coming out of turn 3, but is he going to take it? He's got the draft. He's reeling him in quick now. The car lengths have disappeared, but he's going to have to go the long way around. Simonic's going to make him work for it, and he's going to work for it indeed as he keeps the grip up, but it's another left-hander at the top of turn 6, and eventually that ploy is going to fall out of favor. Just could not find the grip offline.
Good news is for Simonic, he defends his position. The bad news is he loses more time the guys he's trying to run down of Young and Laster.
Well, he is hassling Alex. 4 wins out of 5 races, but he only showed up 4 times. Simonic might finally be bested today. It's 2.5 seconds up to Laster and Young. Almost wonder if Alex is the one that needs to pit early so that he can just get away from Steven. Down to the inside, another look from Stephen McGarvey. This one not working this time. Not missing anything in the lead of the GTDs. We haven't checked in on them in a while, but Slavonic still leads Guillemette by about half a second. Let's take a glance at that. Slavonic, you could see in his Audi, his red and black machine, keeping himself relatively safe. They're going to have Dale Green come up and lap them. He'll wait patiently behind in the kink, and now he's able to get by.
GTDs are very well behaved down there, just putting in the miles.
Yeah, most of them seem pretty separated, Dawson. I see that Kudrowski and Duprat are somewhat close, and then Reese and Owens, but otherwise, everyone seems to be just kind of finding their own spot of racetrack.
Yeah, and I think that might be a little bit due to the track's nature. I mean, the long straightaways and stuff. I mean, you know, we see Guillemette just kind of following Slavonic. I don't think guys are really trying to push it right now, and they might be trying to make it on one stop. I know these GTD cars are the closest ones to making it a one stop, and we might be able to see that happen.
I think we might go up to. Let's go up to Ulmer right now. As he's working his way through this battle. This will be fun. These are the 6 cars we've been looking at. He just got on Gralty. Now he's got De Vries.
He's going to work around the outside of the carousel. Looks like that's going to be a nice clean pass. You talked about using the outside with these prototypes, Dawson. Do enough marbles start to build up offline that's kind of dangerous for them, or for the GTDs, or is that kind of a non-issue?
I haven't ever actually had a problem with iRacing's marbles actually getting so much to where it really loosens the car. If anything, maybe you'll lose a little bit of grip, but you'll feel it in your wheel. But I've never seen anybody yet, fingers crossed, knock on wood, lose a car over marbles.
Ulmer almost cost Simonic the spot, as Simonic couldn't get to the apex, and McGarvey got right in behind him, but they get it worked out.
Yeah, I think Ulmer was being Ulmer there and wasn't willing to sit around, considering he's still being chased by Jason Girard, so he was trying to make good on that while he could. Meanwhile, McGarvey's got to run up the front stretch, and he's got to nose in, actually, as they come to turn 1, but he's going to back out of it now. Simonic is proving a pretty tough nut to crack.
Keep in mind, you may be wondering, why is Steve McGarvey so aggressive? Well, he's been behind. He's having a great season, but Simonic's winning everything. McGarvey's got to finish in front of Simonic. He doesn't care if he wins or not. Winning is nice, but he's got to, for his own sanity, he's got to finish ahead of Alex one of these times.
Certainly is proving a little bit frustrating. So as they come down to turn 5, Stephen McGarvey not making an attempt this time through. They've got Billy Smith coming up next. See if he's a little bit more patient, considering Billy does not have a battle on his hands with anybody.
And with apologies to Ulmer and maybe a little bit to Girard, Smith tends to be a little more, not cautious, but
Tempered.
disciplined. Yeah.
Yeah, he managed to get through McGarvey, but he did cost McGarvey time, and now they're catching some of the GTD cars. That's Christopher Sherburne there trying to go around. Actually, beautifully done by everybody to make that work. No drama whatsoever. Tell you what, that has separated the first 2 battles quite a bit, but De Vries and Gralty are the ones that have closed up. That is for 5th in the GTLMs. And just as I say that, unfortunately, they catch Sherburne, and now that splits them apart.
Well, that's how it is on lap number 12 or 13, but don't worry, it'll change later.
And speaking of those laps, I'm looking at the clock. It is 1 hour and 5 minutes left. We are starting to get towards that pit window.
And it's more significant than you might think. Getting to the 1 hour mark will mean if this is a 2-stop or a 3-stop race for the prototypes.
That'll be something to definitely keep an eye on as things progress. Keep looking up and down my timing column to see what battles are happening. And I go to one. As soon as I go to one, it seems like they get spread apart. Right now, we're looking at Simonic and McGarvey, though. This is still the fight for third place. They've come back together. They're going to be overtaken by Kundinger very soon. He's been slowly chipping away at the field. He's gotten back to fourth place, which is actually where he qualified. But because of his problem on the very third corner of the race, he's 9 seconds behind Billy Smith. He's got a lot of ground to make up.
Now, unlike some races where it really annoys this commentator when guys are close but they don't make the pass, that's not what's going on with Stephen McGarvey right now. He is trying his best. He would love to get around Simonic. This might be the opportunity now with Kundinger in the mix.
Oh, he timed that just about right.
Boy, I'll say.
Yeah. Slotted in right between them and then got through like he was never even there. Simonic stays just about 3/10 ahead of Stephen McGarvey as we watch them disappear into the distance from onboard Kundinger.
Lap times for the prototype about just a tick under 2 minutes. We are at 1:03.
Ooh, Dawson.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just missed maybe the pass there, but we're still going at it. Kedrowski and Duprat going at it. We saw Kedrowski just get a little loose out of turn 5, run it a little bit wide, and now the gap has kind of gone back out. But Lionel Duprat trying to make a move here to get to fourth place.
Let's take a look at the replay. Down into turn 5, Lionel Duprat probably enjoying things a whole lot more this time than he did at Mosport. This is the first attempt. You can see he got a great run, looked around the outside. Kedrowski says, no, you don't. Tried for the over-under. Just about had it, but once again, the 944 had him covered off.
Yeah, almost made a second pass there, but then just backed out of it. But probably the safe move, long race to go.
Yeah, how patient can you be in this series? From our perspective, there's always so much going on, but that's because we can see everything. In the cockpit, does it seem that frantic?
Well, it depends on where you're at. If you're like Gilmet right now and you're sitting in second, whereas, well, now we can see the gap has increased quite a bit. But if you're in second place, there's really no rush unless there's faster guys catching you. You gotta have to have that awareness of where you're at, where they are around you. If you're like in third or fourth place, kind of like what Duprat and Kedrowski is, and you think you have a winning car, you need to make that move right away because you're losing time as long as you sit back behind that guy. But if you're in second place or you don't think you have that winning car and you're just happy with the top 3, then you have time to wait. And it's definitely worth it.
And now 2 minutes left until we hit that first half-hour mark. John Ulmer just at the fastest lap of the race. So he's pulling away from Gerard.
And I'll tell you why that is. I think he hit his number. I think he knew that he didn't have to save fuel. He's racing full song now because he knows he only has to go one more lap. And I think he's good to do this on 2 stops.
That's a good point. But on screen, we see the battle for the lead in the GTLMs because Mike Young has now really caught Laster. Oh, but he's going to lift as he just gets to the braking zone. That's Mark Wilson behind them, just going to lap them. Could possibly cause a little frustration for Laster depending on where he gets them. Manages to almost find the apex, but not enough to keep Young at bay because he is now firmly under that rear wing. Mike Young in the draft in his Porsche. There you see him now dodging off to the side. He's got the inside. No defense from Laster, interestingly. Young outbrakes him into turn 5. Oh, but he bobbles off the corner. Still, he retains it. Great stuff from the red and white machine of the number 21.
Tip of the hat to Laster, who didn't decide to put it in there into corner number 6. He decided to wait. They come up now behind Art Peck.
Oh, and Mark Kedrowski, something has happened. Dawson, what went down here?
Yeah, he got into turn 5 a little hot, hit that sand trap as we talked about earlier, and the car just went around on him, hit the inside wall. and it seems as if his day will be done, is hitting that inside wall pretty hard. Had to take a tow, and that's basically his race over.
Yeah, that looked like turn 8 just past the hurry downs, unfortunately. The 944 is, as he said, in the pits. Back to the battle for the lead in the GTLMs. Young is starting to stretch out by about 7/10 of a second. So I think he's doing pretty good. Actually, I wonder if he's starting to really actually gap him, if he was being held up before.
Fuel. I really think he's back there just saving fuel in the tow for the first 30 minutes. Pit stops are going to be coming up. These cars will go a little longer than the prototypes. Pit stops are coming up, and now he's running.
All right, so what about Ulmer? I'm curious about pit stops for him. Now that he's managed to pull a little bit of a gap on Jason Girard, it's about 2 seconds to the car behind there. You just catch flashes of him in the background. Worth pointing out that they've been running a fantastic pace. They've got 7.5 seconds back to Billy Smith in third.
Again, I have a reputation of being chicken little when it comes to fuel mile. The sky is falling, but these guys have hit their 30-minute mark, and that includes a full 4-mile pace lap. So these guys are good to go.
Well, one thing to remember is that we don't know if it's going to be tight for an extra lap at the end, too.
There you go.
So sometimes that can cause complications of its own. Here we go. Let's see if he pits this time, or if, as you said, we've been crying about the sky falling a little too much. No, he is in.
Girard stays out.
About 2 minutes of breathing room, which is about the length of a lap, even in the prototypes. They were running 151s. Still could be pretty close. Girard continues on, though. Huh. So does Kundinger. So maybe it's not quite as tight?
Yeah, and it's so hard to tell because who knows how hard Girard was running. You know, maybe Ulmer had the pace because he was working harder.
That's true, too. So there's your leader currently, Jason Girard, who still needs to make a stop. We'll keep an eye on that and let you know when he comes in. See how their pit stops compare. Ulmer still stationary, and now he's going. He returns in 4th place and in pretty clear track.
Yeah, that's what's important.
Wilson also pitted that time, and Dale Green.
All right, just get the brains working here a little bit. What are the odds that Ulmer took this pit just a little bit early, so it'd be a shorter stop to fill the car all the way back up, so that he had a quicker stop so that he could get out ahead and have a little bit more of a gap?
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah,
just an idea. I don't know. Maybe that's the driver in me just thinking. That's not a bad idea. Get that gap, and we have a little bit of a cushion to play with.
well, of the three of us, you're probably the only one that could claim that he's won in the Autobahn series, so I'm willing to take your racer's instinct over either of ours.
Read my mind, Joe.
Simonic. Yeah. Simonic's still fighting for third with Stephen McGarvey, but it's not as close as we've seen in the past. Billy Smith is coming up behind him. Smith has already completed his pit stop. Oh, and Girard has come in. Girard's in the pits. Now let's see how their pit stops compare, he and Ulmer.
Just so you know, Ulmer's heading down to Canada right now. Seems like so far away. This pit lane is enormous.
There you see the differences in times. Ulmer from cone to cone, 52.2. Girard just now hits his stall. He's looking for something in the range of about 21 seconds. Stationary. I can tell you that Ulmer's, there we see him on screen. He's actually already coming up the front stretch, although Girard's all the way at the tail end of it. Just now getting to 20 seconds, 21, 22, slightly longer, and there goes Ulmer. Yeah, about a second difference there on their pits.
That's a fast second there, though, with that straightaway. It's a lot of time, and when you play it into that entire lap, I mean, that 1 second gives Ulmer that much more.
Yeah, it's about 3.7 between them now, and I think it was about 2.5 when John pitted. I think, Bill, we found the limit of the fuel cells for the prototypes because I see that Kanchin is in and Mole is in. That's
Yep.
the last of our drivers.
But just to follow up on the point that Dawson made, remember, Ulmer's time was faster, but he came in a lap earlier, so in theory, he didn't have to put in as much fuel. And that's something that will favor Gerard a little bit later.
Yep.
Back to our leaders in the GTLMs. Remember, Young recently made the overtake for the lead, and William Laster has now dropped to about 0.9 of a second. That's 2 more tenths that he's pulled away.
Yeah, that battle has cooled off. Not the case for the guys right behind him. Simonic and McGarvey, they continue to be 2 car lengths apart.
And Mike Young is third in the points right now. He's taken, let's see, 3 podiums out of 5 rounds so far. He didn't have a good last couple of rounds. A 7th and an 11th place certainly have not helped him in the points hunt. It seems he's found his pace once again.
And again, if fuel mileage means anything, Simonic's been out in front for 37 minutes. McGarvey's been behind him for that entire time.
The only driver to have pitted so far of the GTLMs is Olivier Turcotte. He's been in and out and is currently last in that field. Up the front stretch one more time. Alex certainly not under threat. Oh, I take that back. Jason DeVries, the second driver now to elect to come in.
Interesting.
Oh, Josh Wolf is in. Quinn is in. So this is still a comfortable margin for that half-hour mark, but interesting that we're seeing a number of these GTLM cars hit the pits now.
I'll tell you, the guy who's running a hot lap now is Daniel Gralty. He's been following DeVries for this entire 37 minutes, so he's out there. He's got clear track in front of him. It's a little bit before he gets up to Stephen McGarvey and Simonic, and they won't because they all outpace him.
To report that DeVries has returned in 13th place. Unfortunately, he came out in a little bit of traffic. Dean Mole had to get by him in one of the prototypes, so that kind of slowed him up slightly. You see him heading down the Moraine sweep. Remember, he is fighting with Stephen McGarvey, who's still out on track. In the meantime, Dawson's got an update on some of our GTD drivers to understand more woes for the AM class.
Yeah, Art Peck had issues there making room out of the carousel down that straightaway into Canada corner. He was trying to make way for faster traffic, got onto the right side, clipped the grass a little, and hit the other side wall. So he's in the pits trying to fix that car and get it back out there.
Ooh, and this is an interesting development. We mentioned Wolf and Quinn came in to stop, but our GTD cars, Dawson, have not stopped yet. So here we have the faster class not getting any blue flags, and behind the slower class.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. You don't see this every day, and you know, these cars going a little extra, and I think that a lot of these GTD drivers, as we're getting close to that 45-minute mark, might be able to stretch it and just make this on one lap, or on one stop.
Gralty making his stop. DeVries is still out there.
Both Quinn and Wolf, we saw get through, and that's Gerard amongst them as well, who's losing a lot of time.
Young and Laster also in.
Pretty much
As
all
are
the
McGarvey and
GTLMs.
yeah.
Yep, I think that's everybody, because Joey Trungell's the last one. So these must be the drivers that took it all the way to the edge of the tank. And it looks like Young
is out.
should be the first out, yes.
Demonic much closer, though, to Laster than before the stop. Gralty there. Now, where is DeVries? DeVries is out there. I don't know if he's going to catch any of these guys. He gets Gralty. They're side by side.
That's Simonic that he's... Oh, no, that is Gralty that he's fighting with. to the inside. He's going to try and cover him off. He's not quite clear. Gralti almost gets into the back of him. A little bit of a nudge, but both cars get through turn 3. That is as close as it gets.
Woo.
Love to see an onboard from Gralti for this one. My goodness. And you can't always see exactly where the nose of the car is. That was dangerous stuff. Brave stuff by
And
DeVries.
while this is going on, Samonic just got around Laster for second. We might just want to... Okay, we come back live.
Looks like we've actually got the replay spooled up. Let's take a look at that, because this could be very important, especially to the championship. Ooh, is this just an over-under?
Through 5 and 6.
Wow, he juked him.
And he gets it. Yep.
And we unfortunately have not been able to get to the AM class, which has had developments as well. Dawson, you've got pit stops.
Everybody in the top 8, everybody except for Alan Hayspec took a pit stop there, and Christopher Sherburne, they're the only 2 drivers to stay out. Everybody took their stop this time, and they're going to be just 3 minutes short of making it. So we'll see if maybe if Hayspec can save fuel.
DeVries just ran up on the back of Dale Green, who had lost it in the kink. This is maybe 30 seconds ago, and he put it in the wall.
Oh. So
Right in
Green
the
just, lost it all on his own. He got into the grass. There you see it. And as he was spinning, poor Jason came up on it with no chance to avoid. So blind around that corner. I'm not exactly sure what Green was doing there. He was with traffic, but he was clear to his left. And then he just took a whole lot of grass. It's almost like he forgot exactly where the edge of the car was and turned in too early. Dale's able to keep going with a lot of damage. Meanwhile, going to McGarvey, Stephen of the McGarveys. Looks like he's managed to get past, this was Daniel Gralti, I believe.
Yeah, so this is all starting to settle down a little bit. So McGarvey is around Gralti, so they race for 3rd and 4th in classes. They come up right now behind Sean Reese.
And Marty Jeffries. This is a fight for position, which is unfortunately going to get separated because they try and get out of the way, and Daniel Gralti as well loses time in trying to lap those cars.
So that brings, with DeVries' misfortune, that brings Ryan Huff up into a top 5. Where'd you go, Ryan?
Meanwhile, we actually have a new leader in the GTDs, but due to strategy, Dawson, how is Hayspec going this far?
I don't know, and I'm thinking it's got to be fuel maps. That's the only way a driver. He's gone now. This will be 2 extra laps to basically everybody else in the class. So we'll see if Hayspec gets this strategy to work and gets him a 1-stop race and where that lines up with everybody else. So Alan Hayspec, at least, maybe if you don't have that pace, at least trying something, and I love it. I hope this works out for him.
Plus a 4-mile pace lap. This is really good. He's in good situation.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where, unfortunately, math not being our strong suit, he's got 8 seconds currently back to Slavonic, who is on a 2-stop strategy as far as we know. So if Slavonic manages to make up those 8 seconds, obviously that nullifies things for Hayspec.
And Hayspec started behind all these guys, so he's going to have plenty to play with, I would think, if they take a pit stop, so...
Riding on board with our leader in the GTDs. Let's stay with us to see. Well, I'd hope he would come in at this point, unless he has really saved gobs of fuel. Oh, excuse me, we're on Slavonic, actually, our 2nd place driver. In fact, Alan's just coming up to the final corner. So let's see if this gray and white machine elects to come in. Yes, he does.
I think he'll be able to make it. I'm confident. We're at that 45-minute mark right now. Boy. And that was a long way. And as you said, Bill, with the pace lap and everything.
The bad news is that if you think of it this way, right now, if you count Hayspec as making his stop, Slavonic still has a stop to make too. So that would be equal. But Slavonic's not going to need as much gas on his next one. So that may be the difference.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Oh, yeah. Fun. Throw a wrench into the equation.
We've now finished pit stops in the 3 classes, the first set of pit stops, we should say. So let's run down the order of our top 5. John Ulmer is the leader in the prototypes, and that has stayed at roughly 3 seconds ahead of Jason Gerard. So they seem to be evenly paced. Gerard, your second place driver, getting past some traffic right now. They've actually lost time to Billy Smith, who had dropped as far back as, I believe it was 5 seconds to 7 seconds. It is now down to 2 seconds between Smith and Gerard. So the 901 certainly kicking it up a notch. Carter Kundinger is behind them in 4th place. Now, Carter, I think, has had a very commendable drive. He lost it on the very first lap, nearly spinning the car out of turn 3, and he is about 20 seconds behind Billy Smith. So unfortunately, he's got a lot to make up to try and get into the podium fight, but still recovered back to where he qualified. The last of the top 5 in the prototypes is Mark Wilson, who definitely needs a little bit of love, because as quiet as this race has been for Mark, he qualified in 7th. He's gone forward. He's up 2 spots. And I think even though he's got 20 seconds up to Kundinger, this could be a pretty good finish for the 3-2-3. Bill?
Okay, after following William Laster around for the first 30 minutes of this race, Mike Young made the pass, got in, made his pit stop. He is out in front right now. Samonic, who was following everybody around, has worked his way up to 2nd and is only back by just about a tick over a second. William Laster has fallen back to 3rd. About 3 seconds back now is Stephen McGarvey, who is in a battle with Samonic for much of the race. And then cracking the top 5. Gralty, I guess, running in 5th now. So there you have your top 5. Young, Samonic, Laster, McGarvey, and Gralty. Dawson?
Paul Slavonic, so far your leader of this GTD class, and he's led every single lap, doing a great drive here in that Audi. Put it out on pole and hasn't looked back ever since. But if we do look back into that rearview mirror, we will see Tyler Gilmet in the 000 car. Now, he's kind of just been stalking and slowly falling back from Slavonic, but who knows, maybe he's got a little bit extra that he's saving in here. We still have one more pit stop to make, so a mistake, something can happen. He will be right in striking distance. Then we go back to the first Mercedes of the class, Mike Major. Now, he's pretty far back from Gilmet, but he is still in striking distance. Mike Major putting on a typical Mike Major race, pretty consistent, clean, and quiet. Then we go to Lionel Ducrat, who's farther behind from him. He's been doing a great job as well, staying out of trouble. As we saw, he had a good race with Kodrowski before he wrecked, but now he doesn't have any friends to play with. And then finally, Shane Hunter, your 5th place driver in GTD. Again, another quiet drive. We'll see how this plays out. Maybe he can sneak into the top 3 later on in this race.
There's your rundown just about halfway through. We're waiting for the next set of pit stops, and then we'll go through again and update you on everybody's stories. Meanwhile, we're looking at the battle for 2nd. This is Laster chasing Alex Simonic, and that is actually for overall position with the prototype behind them. Dale Green, who's had his fair share of troubles. He got some repairs that set him backwards. He's going to try and let 2nd place in the prototypes through. Jason Gerard going to separate them just at the right time. Cost Laster a little bit there, I think. Now Dale Green is able to get through.
Samonic in a hurry to try to get up and try to keep that win streak going as he tries to get up to Mike Young. Only a 1.5 seconds back is Samonic. You know, we did our top 5. We went through those GTDs. The one name that didn't qualify in the top 5, don't forget, the early peel, late reveal, or I guess actually the late peel, late reveal in this case is Alan Hayspec. Watch out for him. He's done, we think.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, he sits in 7th place right now, which alone isn't a bad finish by any means. But if you count that he's been kind of slowing down his pace and saving fuel, this has been a pretty good drive for Alan Hayspec.
Curious to see actually how Simonic has been gaining on Young. Let's take a look at their laps. And I think we might have some of the pit stops involved in this, so that might make a difference on that. So you're seeing, it looks like Young is a little bit faster in a couple of those laps and then a little bit slower. So it's been yo-yoing back and forth between them. Some of that might be due to traffic. It is at about 1.5 seconds at the present moment.
Yeah, I love that graphic, but it really depends when you look at it and who's in traffic and who isn't.
Coming down through the hurried downs, that's major. Third in the GTDs that they are splitting. Laster still trying to give chase on Simonic, even amongst all of this. I think we had a change for position in 8th, though. Lindsay did just overtake. Yes, he did. Lindsay managed to get by Booth. Let's see if we can get a replay on this. This started down in turn 5 and finished up in turn 6. Just a little wide for Booth. And Lindsay sees an opportunity, not going to sit on it, and immediately jumps through.
Hey, boys. Am I looking at Slavonic coming in, making his final stop?
Yes, sir. I don't know how I feel about this.
He wants to get an idea of what's going on between him and A-Spec, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, man,
fast.
yes, but you're gonna have a heavier car through this. I know he did this at Road Atlanta as well, and he lost time to me, which ended up giving me the spot. Now he got back into traffic and got into some trouble. I've never been a big fan of this strategy, but I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to get that pit stop out of the way, and maybe he sees a hole in traffic. But man, he's gonna have to go through other GTD cars. I don't know, man. But hey, he's gonna roll with it. Go for it, man.
So Slavonic, as our director's throwing some shade on poor Dawson in the background. Slavonic has come out way ahead of Hayspec, though. So, I don't think this strategy worked out for Hayspec quite like he wanted. He's going to have to run fast, and it's unlikely that he's going to be able to do that if he's saving fuel.
Yeah, it was because Slavonic's stop was so fast. He didn't need a lot of fuel.
Let's go to the prototypes. We said Wilson hasn't really had a lot of screen time. Well, now he's going to get some, and not in the way that he wants, because Robert Kanchan is chasing him. These two had a pretty epic battle at Mosport last round 2 weeks ago, and I think they're going to pick up right where they left off. They're going to do it amongst a lot of traffic. They got Hunter, Hill, Lindsay all in front of them, and they're having a hell of a time trying to sort themselves out, actually. And there was a change for position between Lindsay and Booth just in front of them as they've got Dave Hill and the GTLMs trying to squeak through. Oh, this is going to get complicated. Around the carousel, Wilson's going to try and go the outside. Oh, but he goes way too far outside. He's into the grass, tries to come back on. He loses speed, and in that, Robert Kanchan manages to get up into 5th.
He had been stalking him for several laps, and he gets that done. He works his way around Dave Hill. He's on his way. Careful now.
But it's not done.
He gets into Paul Lindsay.
Lindsay turned off track in Canada corner. No time to stop for pancakes. Oh, and Lindsay's going to take a tow. He did not hit the wall nearly hard enough. I'm not sure why he did that.
A protest tow.
Maybe he's not a fan of this track. Let's see it from above. I kind of put this one on Kanchan, to be honest. He was coming from a long way.
Yeah.
It's like he was given a little bit of space. Lindsay trying to leave an opening, but I think the internet decided not today. We come back live. to Mike Young, our leader in the Porsche. It has now gone up. It is 2.4 seconds between himself and the 250 of Simonic. This is going to be a nice feather in the cap of the 21 car if he can outrun Alex on pure pace.
Yeah, it's his. He's been doing it. Joshua Wolf and Matt Quinn in a little battle for a position.
This is for 11th place. I suspect that Wolf probably does not want the cameras on himself. Seems like every time we do put them on him, something goes wrong. They've got Dean Mole behind them, ready to lap them. He's just waiting patiently, though. And Alan
Wolf?
Hitzbeck as well.
One of those grizzly guys.
They're gonna have to wait a little bit because Hayspec wants to go through the kink safely. And now once they streak through the other two classes, managing to overtake is going to include Dean Mole getting to the inside, putting him offline. Josh Wolf manages to power off the corner up to Bill Mitchell-Benn. The Ferrari of Quinn has no answer. Looking from Matt's perspective inside the cockpit. Tries to get himself a run up the front stretch. I think he's just a little bit too far back. So here's the wild thing in all of this. Despite not having any spare car, we've still got 30, I believe, 8 or 33 cars still going. It's like 34 in total I'm seeing. We have had a number of retirements. We didn't see what happened to poor Kevin O'Keefe and Leif Peterson, who are already gone in the prototypes. We've also lost Costa, DeVries, and Lindsay in the GTLMs. And then it's the AM class that has had the worst of it. Godrowski, Friel, Santana, McLeish, and Woloshin. And on screen, Quinn managing to go to the inside down into turn 5. Josh Wolf once again hanging the long way around, is not paying off. Turn 6 makes it a fruitless effort. He slots now down into 12th.
Ferrari gets that pass made. Hey, I'm going to give you a number down in the GTDs. 32 seconds is the interval between Tyler Guillemette and who would it be? Paul Slavonic. Slavonic is good to go. 32 seconds is what Guillemette needs to get in and out.
And to give you an idea, Paul Slavonic's stop was 40 seconds. So
okay,
it's looking better and better.
This battle on screen just won't go away. Josh Wolf trying to come back at him. He's going to go around the outside of Canada corner. No, he's not going to go around the outside of Canada corner. In fact, he almost loses the car. Nice save. Let's watch this from on board the car. Sizing him up. Figures he's going to cover off the inside. The Grizzly Motorsports driver thinks he could maybe pull the over-under, but it looks like that rear-engine Porsche just doesn't give him the grip he wants. Oh, and did something happen to Robert Cancian? He's in the pits. Oh, he's in very early.
31, it could be the front. Could be the very front.
Yeah, that's putting yourself under the gun, though. That's no wiggle room.
I'll see if there's an issue that he had. You know, we were watching that battle there between the Ferrari and the Porsche. I hear there's a big budget movie coming out, the story of Ford and Ferrari.
Yes. Meanwhile, let's go to McGarvey in a nice battle with Laster. Laster not able to take it. This is... Oh, and actually that was McGarvey managing to get the spot from Laster. That moves him up onto the podium.
Got him out of the kink going down into Canada. Lasser, who spent the first third of the race up in the front, has now fallen off of the podium. And try as he might, McGarvey continues to race behind Simonic.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Let's see. Now we've got a replay for the pass. The outside, good on the brakes. Wow. Very nice stuff. McGarvey 2 seconds behind Alex Simonic, who is equidistant from Mike Young. 2 seconds up to our leader, and that hasn't really been changing a whole lot. He's just been keeping them at arm's length.
Coming up on Gilmet, the GTD leader right now. Pit stops for everybody still.
Let's go to Gilmet. Take a look at him. The Triple O has inherited the lead after Slavonic took an alternate strategy. And he's got a 21-second lead over Micah Major, who has not taken his second stop. Slavonic, Hunter, and Reese seem to be the only three that have taken their second stop. Hayspec not expecting one.
Dawson, Underford race fans wouldn't realize that Gilmet right now is in a tight battle. He's racing Simon. The guy he's racing is on the other side of the track, and one pit stop extra under his belt.
Yeah, and I just keep looking at lap times and stuff, and I don't know. I think when this all gets settled, it won't be enough of a gap for Gilmet to really make that back up, unless his pit stop is all that much shorter than Slavonic's, which maybe he'll have a better idea on fuel. Who knows?
I guess
maybe
it
he's
shouldn't
saving
be,
fuel right. Yeah.
It should be the same. They should have identical amounts of fuel.
I'm seeing, looks like Gilmet was a whole lot slower, or no, a whole lot faster than Slavonic. That might have been the pit lap, though.
Those are in and out, I think. It's the last 26, 27, and 28 you can look at for a good idea.
And so mostly Gilmet has been slower.
Yeah.
He did catch half a second on Slavonic on that last lap.
But then also that could be traffic where he got passed by other cars. I mean, there's so many variables that you got to play into this.
Sheldon Rosenbaum has had a problem. And this started with a bit of a pass. And this happened in front of John Ulmer.
Indeed. He was going around Sherburne, and he had Ulmer on his tail, so he had the pressure of the big cheese behind him. And I guess do a little days of Hasselhoff and go off in the beach.
I'm going to watch it from above here. He's looking for a pass. Outbrakes himself slightly, and we've got the leader behind. But unfortunately, he will take a hard pancake into the wall.
I think he was
pitted.
I think he was trying to finish the pass because otherwise he's going to have Ulmer in his tailpipe. So that was really, he was between a rock and a hard spot there.
What happened to Simonic? Simonic has disappeared.
He had a spin in corner number 5.
He's disconnected.
He brought it back out onto the track.
Did he hit the incident limit, maybe? Let's see. We're looking for the 250.
He blinked away. Yeah, he spun in 5, and he blinked away when he got to 6. As if the iRacing stewards were slow doing the math.
Well, it says he manually disconnected, though, so it wasn't a connection issue.
Okay.
Here we've got the replay.
I don't think it could have been a manual just because he was rolling.
You know what I wonder? Hardware, maybe. Because this is a weird spin.
Plus 36 incidents at this point in the race. That's a crazy high number from, I mean, his car's clean.
So let's stay on it because now he comes out, and then when he goes around 6, we're going to see what happens when you blink away. We're going to get a picture of nothing, I guess. And there he goes, and there he goes.
Yeah, my best guess is that's got to be some sort of hardware issue.
Well, his misfortune is Stephen McGarvey's good news. So McGarvey now up into second. And there's some big points, and the streak will end tonight.
Does that count towards the stat? Does the DNF count?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, Sheldon Rosenbaum and Alex Simonik are two new retirements from the GTLMs.
And that moves Olivier Turcotte into a 5th place down there in the GTLMs now.
Tell you what, Stephen McGarvey's probably not too sad about losing Alex as well. This moves him into 2nd place, and he's going to get a lot of points over Alex.
Yep.
Shame he can't get maximum points, but, you know, a good day is a good day, I suppose.
Yeah, but remember, Alex has already missed. He missed the opening round, so you only get 2 drop races, so the claims will be paid as far as the drop insurance goes.
No, Alex was at the opening round. He won. What? He won every single of the first 4 races.
Oh, is he? Okay, he's 4. Okay. Sorry, yep.
There's only the last one that he was gone. Let's go to Dawson, though. He's got an update on our driver attempting the one-stop.
Yeah, so Hayspec, we were trying to see where he would slot out with not taking that extra stop. And just to give you another idea on where roughly he would be, Mike Major has made his pit stop, and he has come out in front of Hayspec. Now, he has been running 3rd all day, and Hayspec is a good fair distance behind him. So Duprat would be the next guy to maybe slot in front of or behind him. So Hayspec's looking around a 4th place finish, depending on how this slots out for him and if he can make it.
But I don't care. I like the attitude. Alan Hayspec probably left-handed, doing something bizarre like that. Way to go.
Olivier Turcotte is pit, but so is Mark Wilson, who, remember, was fighting with Robert Canchin. And I think Wilson is actually going to get out ahead of Canchin. Yes, indeed. We ride on board with Mark now. He's got a handy 5-second gap, so that worked out wonderfully for the 3-2-3. Oh, and John Ulmer's pitted. Our leader is in.
Gerard luckily gets around Wilson, who just came out of the pit, so Gerard down into 5.
So I think we can safely say that fuel's not a worry, because we're well past the final half hour, yeah. I want to say that they increased the fuel cells slightly on these prototypes so that we don't quite have these issues. Yes, just got confirmation on that.
That's great. I approve of that idea, because otherwise these prototypes were they're handcuffed on these 90-minute races. Let them race.
Meanwhile, Daniel Geralti coming in from the GTLMs. And I think, no, he's not the first to get his 2nd stop. Looks like Huff, Turcotte, and Schindel have already taken theirs. Let's go to the battle for 4th in that class. This is Ross Booth leading Dave Hill. And they've got a little bit of lap traffic. That's Art Peck in the GTD and the Mercedes. He's not involved in this. He's in a different class, but he's involved in the sense that he holds Dave Hill up coming through Bill Mitchell Bend. That Ford had a little bit of a scare.
Gonna ride on board the Ford of Hill.
So the Merc just exactly where he does not want it to be. So we come back live. What was a much closer fight has separated to about 0.6 of a second.
Gerard is in. Ulmer heading down to 14, the final corner right now. I think Ulmer should be able to get him comfortably. Gerard in his stall.
Yeah, Ulmer was about 5 seconds ahead, I want to say. So for Ulmer, it was 16 seconds in the stall. Gerard, 15 seconds in the stall, and he's coming out now, but Ulmer is by. So close yet so far. Don't need to go to it, but Carter Kundinger also has come in for a stop.
He's hoping to get out in front of Billy Smith, and Billy Smith is past him already.
Boy, Jason Gerard has gained a lot, though. Wasn't he quite a bit farther back from Ulmer? Because it's now 1 second.
Yeah, it wasn't that close. Oh no, almost lost it! Gerard goes by. The cheese is off the pizza.
Well, there's plenty of that here in Wisconsin. So John will have a chance to maybe try and put some back on. We're going to watch from on board. And this was just plain driver error, I want to say. Okay, before John had a little bit of a pace advantage over Jason. Can he re-find that and chase down that 2.5-second gap and retake the lead? 20 minutes left to do so. He's got time. Dean Mole looks like the last of our prototypes to take his final stop. We're still waiting on many of our GT cars to come in. Remember, we were watching Gilmet, wondering when he'll be able to come in since he's in a fight across the track to Paul Slavonic.
Now, Ulmer has an uphill battle, I know, just to kind of drop in here. Remember, he took a shorter pit stop earlier on, so that should come around now, and we said it was about a second, so that's another thing to play into that.
That's a good point. Meanwhile, Booth has been re-caught by Dave Hill. There's Hill on your screen right now. We're looking from the gearbox of Ross Booth. Giving chase through the hurry downs. It is Ford versus Porsche. Dean Mole going to get between them for just a moment.
This is a bit of it's a real battle, but their positions, their rankings are a little off because there are drivers who've pitted and they haven't yet.
This is true. They should be able to be overtaken, I think, by a couple. Was Huff with them actually earlier? Because he's currently our highest pitter.
I think Huff should stake these guys.
Oh, and we might get an answer to the question that we were asking earlier, because we've got a little bit of time without battles on screen. So we brought Alex Simonic, who's joined us in the booth. Alex, we were trying to figure out what exactly caused you to have to leave the circuit. Can you shed some light on things?
In order to get up to the draft couple of William and Mike, I had to take less fuel at the stop than they did. So I did that, got into their pack, and then passed to William. And I knew just to keep pushing until either Mike made a mistake or I made a mistake. And I was the one to make a mistake. And since I was taking less fuel then, that means I had to take more fuel than they did at the last stop. So it was just going to be another downhill battle after I spun. So I decided just to call it there and take a drop race.
Wow. Well, that is awful brave, considering those points could come back to haunt you later on. We go to Interlagos, though, next round. Is that a stronger track for you? Because we weren't accustomed to you qualifying so low here.
Yeah, I didn't know how bad my setup was until I went into qualifying. I was using an Imola setup, and apparently that's not good at Road America. But Interlagos hasn't been a track that I've liked, but I'm going to be practicing more than I do usually for these races, and hopefully the next race will be more positive and end up on top.
We'll keep an eye on that. We wish you the best next round in South America, sir.
Thank you.
This Alex Simonic, that surprises me, Bill. I would have thought he would have, especially with how he lost last season.
Yep.
That
I can't relate. 6th place finish for me. I'm taking the wife out to dinner in celebration. 6th place for him. He's dropping it out of disgust. Well,
different
mindset.
I'd hate to see the same thing happen where he takes win after win but loses out because he's just too inconsistent.
Well, we talked about it. He missed the last one. Now this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, as we go to Gerard, our new recent leader in the prototypes. He was certainly on a tear of wins earlier on. Looks like he might add another one because he's actually stretched it out instead of Ulmer regaining the ground. 2.8 seconds between the 02 and the 902.
That interval between Guillemette and Slavonic now 42 seconds. Boy, I liking where Tyler is. I think, Dawson, is that your take too? That Guillemette should be able to get in and out, or am I not thinking that right?
What is going on? I've missed something here. Yeah, that has increased, and it looked like Slavonic had a slow lap once. So, and that was quite a while ago. So we will see Slavonic. Boy, that's and we'll see here if Guillemette has to take more or less fuel. But that pit stop that Slavonic took was right around 40 seconds. So we'll have a good race to end this all out here in GTD.
Well, he only needs 14 minutes of fuel, so he's not going to need too much.
There you see on screen the difference between the laps, and though Slavonic was slower on 2 of them, it's not quite as much as it was when he was faster there.
So that
on 3 of the laps.
Yeah, that comparison is missing 1 lap where Slavonic was 10 seconds off, and I don't know what happened, if it was traffic or something. I will see if I can figure something out.
It might have been his pit stop.
No, he had a spin.
Ooh.
Okay.
He had a spin in turn 1. I just saw it.
And Stephen McGarvey is in from 2nd place in the GTLMs. The Bimmer finds his stall and is already out. In fact, there's so much of a gap back behind him that Ross Booth is only just barely going to catch up to him. So he loses only 1 position in that pit stop. Booth has yet to pit, we should point out in that. Matt Quinn is in, though. Quinn was in a battle earlier on, I believe, with Josh Wolf. And Wolf comes in behind him. We are down to 12 minutes to go if you're just joining us of round 6 here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge at Road America. It's a 90-minute race today. It's an endurance race for this series. Ooh, Hill and Booth are getting very close to one another once again as we watch Quinn take off in his Ferrari. This is back to the battle, which is now for 4th in GTLMs. We ride on board looking back. Come out of the carousel. Oh, and Hill washing out just a little bit.
Both of these drivers still need to make their stop. I expect Huff to get around him, maybe Olivier Turcotte. Here comes your leaders, Young and Laster are in.
There we see the drivers in the GTLM pretty much all taking their stops. And as late as this is, we still have plenty of drivers in the GTDs that also need to come in.
McGarvey
and
goes
Booth
by
pits.
Laster.
Booth pits, but Hill stays out.
Tyler Guillemette, your GTD leader, is in the pits right now.
All right, this is big.
This is the one we've been waiting for. Slavonic, I can say, is coming out of Bill Mitchell Bend right now.
Guillemette is away.
Rolling.
Ooh, boy.
He's got a long way to go, though, because his pit stall is so far at the beginning of pit lane.
Slavonic coming across the line just now.
Ooh,
and Tyler is out. I think you're right.
Wow.
What a sneaky move by the Triple O car. Tyler Guillemette, we believe, legitimately your new leader here in the GTD class. And poor Paul Slavonic, if he's aware of what just happened, has got to be wondering, what does it take to get myself a win?
Boy, the only thing we can now is if Gilmet didn't fill it up enough, but
Right.
I'm looking at his pit stop time and it was right around what Slavonics was, so, and he still has enough of a gap to, if he was short, he could save fuel.
I think we might have seen a flash of a car off track. That was Turcotte. There we see the pit comparison between the two of them. So, 9 minutes left to go now. And though we still have a car ahead of Slavonic, that is Duprat, who needs to pit yet. But it is about 3 seconds between Gilmet and Slavonic. Meanwhile,
Jeffries and Owens back car to car here so far. Owens' car looks a little bit cleaner than Jeffries, but Jeffries has had that damage for a while.
not much between them, that's for sure.
Woo.
Certainly pushing, and this is valuable because they're looking at a top 5. That's a fair bit of points for these drivers. Dave Hill has already finished his stop. He's coming back. He was racing with Booth, who's actually going to be long past him. Wow. Big difference between the two. And I'm looking at their pit times. Not sure if we have the time to put those up, but there was a big difference between the two of them in the stop.
And their stop allowed Ryan Huff to go ahead and get that top 5 spot now. I think the top 5 is pretty secure in the GTLMs.
Hill number 13 running in 6th place. And there you see the difference in the stops. 8 sections stationary versus 9.5. And you can see the overall on the lane. I'd say that made all the difference in what was a battle mostly separated by half a second for much of the race.
Battle for the top 5 in the prototypes. Wilson ahead of Cancian. Cancian had the spin. He wants to get that spot back.
This has been going on all race long, just about, between these two. Wilson, the car ahead that you see. Cancian, the trailing HPD. This is our closest fight that we have in the prototype category, as Bill said, for a 5th position. Everyone else has split apart. Even our battle for the lead is staying at that 3 seconds we saw before. Good run coming through the kink for Wilson to keep Cancian behind. No chance for an attack down into Canada corner. Not sure that Robert is going to be able to do anything from here. He will get a little bit of traffic to help him out. Possibly. That's Quinn. Oh, and Quinn's not interested in doing any favors for Mark Wilson. Takes the apex in the final corner. That slows Mark up. Gives a little bit of a draft on top of it down to Cancian.
He's there. Let's see if he forces him. He moves.
But he's not good enough on the brakes. Off the racing line, Robert. A little bit too early on the binders. He settles back into 6th once more.
Yeah, and that tight entrance into 1 is going to kill us any chance of getting him into 5 as he falls well back.
Yeah, it just does not seem close enough. Do have information on the GTDs that Duprat has finally pitted, moving Slavonic now up into 2nd place.
But Matt Owens in the pits as well, and this kind of gives an idea for Alan Hayspec on where his final finishing position. As long as he makes it on fuel, he should be sitting in 5th place, so a top 5 with the fuel strategy that he ran.
Where did Hayspec qualify as well? I'm curious.
And he qualified 11 from pole, so he's qualified 11th in class. So a great race for him.
Look at that. Yeah, I like it.
Nice run. Certainly something to be proud of. If you're not fast, sometimes it's better to try and outthink your competitors.
You know,
5 minutes left to go. Go ahead, Bill.
little by little, I don't think there's going to be enough time. Mike Young is being ran down by Stephen McGarvey. He's knocking off a tenth or so every lap, but it might be a classic case of too little, too late, but he's coming.
That's 1.2.
If he gets much closer, he'll be in the tow, and then he'll have a shot at this.
Let's take a look at their laps and see how they've been. See if this has been a consistent, steady thing, or if this is maybe traffic. And that is thrown a little bit off by the pit stop in the middle there. That explains those two. So, but the last two laps,
Faster.
yeah, 1/10 and then 2/10 faster.
And now he's got it down to a second. Just from when we talked about it, he's knocked 2 more tenths off of it. Now it's under a second.
Is Young maybe short on fuel, I wonder?
Well, that and this track has been changing a lot from where we started. We started with an 89-degree track. We're down to 78 degrees. As the sun goes down, it really starts to cool off.
Yeah, it's already 7:30 in the evening here in the virtual Wisconsin, and I'd say that McGarvey is pushing, because as we rode on board, you could see how he's hustling the car out of the final corner. 9/10 of a second. Ooh, this has got to be making the number 21 sweat just a little bit. 8/10 now. McGarvey again, first person to win this season other than Simonic, who took the first 4 rounds, but Simonic didn't show up last time. So McGarvey could take another victory. Steven's already a champion in Autobahn. He knows what it takes to get wins, and he knows what it takes to build those wins into a championship run. Number 19 now has it down to 6/10 of a second. I think he's starting to feel a little bit of slipstream here.
Yep.
This is our closest fight for the lead, Bill.
It is indeed. Things have settled down there. Oh, not a real good run there from McGarvey through the carousel. He loses a little bit of time. There is another battle between Wilson and Cancian, but we'll check in on that later.
Steven is using everything he's got. He put 2 wheels off coming out of the kink. That is throwing caution to the wind, and it paid off because he's got it down to 5/10 of a second now. This is the closest he's been yet. And
Ulmer is Ulmer's in the
get the
hurry
white
down,
flag this
so
time
we're gonna
by.
get the white flag.
Coming up the front stretch, McGarvey gains even more. And just a side note, I see Christopher Sherburne in another time. I think this might be a 3rd stop, but I'm not entirely sure. 2/10 of a second now. McGarvey is here, and he's knocking on the door. Turn 3. Steven staying in the tire tracks of the orange and white car of Mike Young. They will have a little bit of traffic ahead of him in the form of Joey Trungale. Defensive move from Mike Young coming down to turn 5, but it allows McGarvey to get beside him. Can't get by, and he slots back into second.
Get another bite of that apple, though. Ulmer takes the
Certainly
white
will.
flag. Going under the start-finish line right now. Oh, let me correct myself. Gerard.
Gerard, yeah, excuse me. Just thinking the same thing, that Gerard has been holding the gap at about 1.7. And I'm not sure that unless traffic once again gets in the way of things that Ulmer's got anything for him. In fact, Ulmer fell off a lot on that last corner. Back with McGarvey and Young. This is perhaps the tightest fight we've seen to the line for the GTLM lead all season long. Does Stephen McGarvey risk it? Does he try to get maximum points? Or does he settle knowing that he's going to take a lot of points over his main rival here in the championship? They take the white flag. This is it. Last lap to go for these two. Not going to be close enough to make an attempt this time.
Gerard just going through the kink right now.
Yeah, he just overtook Dave Hill. He's got Ross Booth in front of him. Few cars actually left to lap. Booth knows the deal, though. He sees the leader. He's going to pull out of the way nicely. One corner to go for Jason Gerard. He missed by 1,000th of a second last round. But this time, he's not going to have that disappointment. He comes to the line here at Road America to take his third victory of the season. Ulmer finishes in second.
Gilmet.
And how about Tyler Gilmet there, Dawson?
Yeah, he's done a great job, able to get around Slavonic, avoiding that one big mistake that Slavonic had all day.
And he takes the victory here at Road America. Nicely done by the Triple Lot. Now we get time to focus on the big one. The battle for the lead on the GTLM. Stephen McGarvey has fallen back on Mike Young. Whatever was holding back the 21, he's put the afterburners on now. They've got traffic in front of them, in their own class no less. Joey Trungale, along with Lionel Duprat and the GTDs. Duprat's going to be able to stay out of the way. He still compromises the line for McGarvey slightly. Mike Young has to survive just one more corner. Is Joey Trungale going to play a part in this? So far, they haven't caught him enough to need to lap him. He's just going to pull out of the way. Nicely done. It doesn't hold up Mike Young, even though a little bit of a run to McGarvey could give him a thought about it, but it is not to be. Mike Young is your victor here in Wisconsin. McGarvey just shy by 0.2 of a second at the line. Laster well behind them. Didn't have nearly the pace in that 307, but a well-earned podium in that GTLM car. And I believe that should be most of our field done now. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. If you watch on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Road America at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And Jason Girard takes yet another victory this season. Could he finally get himself a championship here in Autobahn? He outran John Ulmer. John, unfortunately, not able to chase him down like he did at the start. Finished just 2.5 seconds behind. Billy Smith gets a nice podium, with Carter Kundinger probably ruining what could have been a podium for him. He certainly seemed to have the pace based on qualifying, but a spin early put him under the gun. Mark Wilson earned himself a top 5, and then Robert Kanchan was the last one on the lead lap from the prototypes. Dean Mole finishes 7th, and Dale Green rounds out your field of finishers in the prototype class. Bill?
17 drivers took to the grid. 12 of them will finish ahead of the GTDs. Mike Young was first to do it. Stephen McGarvey right behind him. Rounded out your podium, William Laster, who led early on. Ryan Huff and Ross Booth go 4th and 5th. In the back half is Dave Hill, Mark Schindel, Matt Quinn. Olivier Turcotte had some issues, but he still finishes ahead of the GTDs. Joshua Hallenwolf behind them. Daniel Gralty, who was racing up front for a while, then had trouble. Joey Trungell rounds out cars that finished ahead of the next class. Dawson?
Tyler Gilmet, your winner. Paul Zilvanic with a heartbreaking second place finish. Mike Major, Lionel Duprat, 3rd and 4th. Alan Haysbeck with his awesome strategy that me and Bill both loved. He's going to get a top 5 out of it. Good for him. Matt Owens, Marty Jeffries, Sean Rees, Christopher Sherman, Art Peck, and Shane Hunter are going to round it out. And then we get to a couple of people who had not so great a days. Alex Monick, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Paul Lindsay, Jason DeVries, Gerard Gilbert, Mark Kandrowski, Chris Costa, Kevin O'Keefe, and Leif Peterson, 2 of your LMP2 drivers. Then Jay Friels, Kevin Santana, and McLeish, the last of the drivers who completed laps today.
Obviously, Will Ocean was a did not start, but a driver who did start and went from pole to flag was Jason Girard. That wasn't always in the lead, though. Jason, seemed like John had you sweating a little bit today.
Yeah, he definitely made me work for that. I had very little practice going into this race because I was just focusing so much on the 24 hours yesterday, and I just put a setup in there. I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I tightened it up just to finish the race. And in that second stint, I was wondering whether that was actually going to happen. I didn't even know what their strategy was, but looks like maybe they short filled on one of their stops, and then I just made up for it at the end. But yeah, John ran a great race, really fast. If he had not spun out at turn 5 there, I probably would have had a very difficult time catching him.
Yeah, that certainly added to it. But regardless, you did come away with the victory. And I was going to ask, because you mentioned briefly about thinking they maybe had a different pit strategy in terms of fuel. Did you feel like you were pushing any harder? Because it didn't seem like John was catching you the way he did at the first stint.
I was pushing everything I had. My setup would, like I said, I didn't really spend a lot of time with the setup. I just came into the session with a couple hours of practice, and that was it. And it was starting to get kind of sketchy there. So, but yeah, I was pushing it for everything I had, and he was catching me, mostly through traffic. It was just I was just getting bad roulette with the traffic, hoping it would work for me, and thankfully it just barely did.
Shouldn't see nearly as much traffic next week as we've been corrected. We go to the Nürburgring combined, apparently. My question to you is, can these cars go through the carousel? Can the prototypes go through the carousel? Do you have to stay on the flat?
I have no idea. We're going to find out. I never raced an HPD there. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that race very much, but GT cars, yeah, it's great for those, but prototypes, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think it'll be a bit of an exploration for a lot of drivers. Well, regardless, congratulations on win number 3 so far this season, sir.
Yeah, and I just want to say big props to Mike Young and Tyler Gimmet, 3 class winners from SRN, top 4 in GTE for SRN. Awesome job, guys.
That is phenomenal, and something that we failed to mention about that team's championship, but Bill can explore that because he's caught up with our winner in GTLM, Mike Young.
Mike, congratulations on the win. Let's go through this in little sections here. Let's go early on. You slot in behind William Laster for about the first 30 minutes. Were you just riding there, or were you trying for the lead?
No, William was super fast tonight. He pipped me on pole just by a little bit. I was pretty jealous of that. But no, he had great pace. I just took the one opportunity that I had coming down the straight and just decided to go for it. And it worked out.
Okay, then we get after the second pit stop. You look to have a comfortable lead. I'm feeling pretty good for you. And then all of a sudden, McGarvey starts chomping away at it, and he's closing.
So Steve and I, we sit on a team chat. We're both on the SRN chat. So Steve's sitting back there, real comfortable, burping in my ear, chirping in my ear, telling me all the things I'm doing wrong. He was definitely in my head. I was just really trying to focus on the track, make sure I hit those corners, and just keep it behind.
He got there, and he was close, but needed a couple more laps. Hey, congratulations. It's good to see you getting this first win in this car, I would think, right?
Yep. First GT win for me.
Congratulations. Nice job. Good points day for you. See you down the road.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Mikey on your winner in GTLMs.
And then up next, Dawson has caught up with our winner in the GTDs, Tyler Gilmet, who managed to outrun probably a somewhat frustrated Paul Slavonic. Dawson?
Yeah, Tyler, that was a great race from you. You know, you didn't lead much of that race, but you led when it mattered right there at the end. What do you think about how that race went?
The race went excellent. You know, I just tried to keep it clean, hang in there, not lose touch with Paul, because I know he's really fast. And staying out late for the pit stop seemed to benefit me in the end.
Yeah, I don't know. How much were you with your fuel strategy? Were you confident in what you'd chosen versus what Paul did, or were you thinking about maybe coming in early with him, or what was the thought process?
No, I was committed to running down to the end and then doing a real short stop at the end. See if, with not taking tires, that would help out, being a little bit lighter at the end.
Yeah, I know when I've raced, that's the same strategy I like to choose, and it looked like Slavonic, the strategy was going to work for him, but a mistake there late in the end. But hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. You are our winner today. So anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, just SRN guys. Been great racing with them so far. Congratulations to Jason, Mike, and the top 4 in GTE. William's been helping me out a lot this season, so it's been good.
Awesome. Well, great day for all you guys and a great day for yourself getting that win here at Road America. We will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yep. Thank you, guys. I'll see you 2 weeks in the next round.
All right. That is Tyler Gilmet, your GTD winner, Joe.
One last driver we have to talk to is Carter Kundinger. I was kind of following his progress through the field because, Carter, it seemed like you had a really good start at the line. You were fighting with the top guys, and then turn 3 happened. Tell us a little bit about that spin-off. What caused that?
Oh, yeah. It was, going into this race, those top 3, Jason, John, and Billy, I knew were going to be fast. And I was surprised to see I was only like a few tenths off of them after qualifying. So I knew during the race that all I had to do is just stick behind them and just basically hold on to the end of the snake. And then at the start, I was able to jump John. John had a really bad start. So I was able to get around him through turn 1. And then he came down on the inside of me at turn 3. And I've had this issue all practice, but for some reason, turn 3, I always seem to forget where to brake. And so I went just a little too deep into that corner, locked up the tires, spun the car a little bit, but I was able to catch it. And then I was coming off the corner. It almost just felt like my steering was stuck. It just stuck straight to the right. I must have unsettled the car, so had to go off and then basically play catch up the rest of the race.
Yeah, and with that catch up, you wound up about 23 seconds behind Billy Smith at the end of the race. Do you think, without having to overtake all those cars, that you would have had the pace to stay with Billy and fight for podium?
Yeah, unfortunately, I finished, like you said, I finished 23 seconds behind them. And after I ended up getting through all the traffic and was sitting in 4th, I was around 15 seconds. So you can only imagine with me not spinning and then keeping the back of Billy or John or Jason's draft, I definitely had a good shot at staying up towards the top. But yeah, just unfortunate. But then again, that's about where I expected to finish. So I can't really complain about that one.
I suppose not. One more before we let you go. This is the end of the Americas run. and now we head over to the European leg. Are you nervous about that? Are you a bit like John Ulmer, where you prefer some of the American tracks, or do you feel pretty excited about any of the upcoming rounds?
I mean, I definitely like the American tracks. I like tracks that flow from corner to corner. But I mean, going to the European tracks, I mean, we start off with Nürburgring combined, which is going to be, I think, torture. Then Le Mans for 2 hours, which is going to be not that great. And then finally we go to a track that I actually know quite a bit, is Monza. So I think I'll slowly get into the European tracks and get comfortable with them, but it definitely is not a good start to the European trek.
All right. Well, hopefully it isn't too painful for you. That was our 4th place finisher, Carter Kundinger, who had a very commendable drive back up to the front. We're going to close out today, and a big thank you goes out to everybody who helps organize the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge behind the scenes. And also a big thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Dawson, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, we're going to the Nürburgring. It's the combined course. That'll be Monday, June 17th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.